Great. So welcome everyone to another one of our monthly My Speaker Business community calls. And I think pretty much everyone here with us right now has been with us before, but just again, in case there is a first timer with us. Who is this community what are we doing on these calls? So first of all, the My Speaker Business community was actually created and initiated because quite a few speakers from around the globe quite a few years ago said, we would love to have a space where we connect, where we help each other, where we help each other step onto more stages with each other, where we learn from each other. And this is why we created this community. And every month we get together into 1 hour of our monthly community calls. And I love to learn, you love to learn and grow and make your speaker business flourish. So every month we invite one of our expert guests who is normally also an established speaker and a specialist in a certain field, so that you get hands-on tips from our guest speakers so that you can apply them right away. And also this is your space to ask your personal questions on how to make your speaker business flourish further, especially around the topic of our guest. And also it's your space to exchange and connect with other professional speakers and learn from each other. Also, if you run any kind of high priority projects that you like others to know about, this is the space for you to share. And also, I know for some of you, it's dinner time or breakfast time, like for Doug in the US, or for us it's lunchtime. So just take a break with us and have fun with us and get inspired. Well, as you know, we make these calls very interactive. So, if you have any questions, these are your calls, so please don't hold back to jump in to ask your questions in the chat or unmute yourself and ask them right away. We will invite you as well from time to time to ask them. And also mute yourself so that we have a sparkling recording. And what is our topic today? Well, and today we're going to speak about nothing new, everything different. And we're going to talk about speaker websites, because our guest today is saying that fewer than 3% of speaker websites make the grade and are really magnetic, attractive, and are really connecting you with event organizers, with clients, and everything else. The question is your website one of these 3%? And as you know, especially over the last couple of months, a lot of for all of us, the importance to be active online and have a solid online presence has become more important than ever. So who is our guest? Well, his name is Chris Davidson. And I know Chris and I know each other from the speaker community. We've met at previous speaker summits, and now recently in Namibia at a Plan B summit, where some of you like Paul and others have been with us as well. And who is Chris? Well, he established his business, Active Presence, 2002, to really help people communicate complex information more persuasively and memorably, so that whatever you get out there on your website sticks, right? And prior to this, he served as a senior manager with some of the world's most prestigious high-tech companies in different industries, in the aviation, telecommunication, and IT industries. He also joined the PSA, the Professional Speaker Association, shortly after he established his business Active Presence, and he was made a fellow in 2008. And what that means, Chris, you can tell everyone here as well. Well, Chris has also attended many conventions, both at home and overseas, and we met at some of them, including, speaking at several global speaker summits. And I know that over the years, you have witnessed how many speakers are struggling with creating and maintaining an effective online presence. And this is why Chris, in January 2019, he launched his platform, Speaker Business Builder, to help speakers really cut through the noise and get their message heard. Well, Chris, it's really amazing to have you with us today. Welcome.
My pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, folks. Thank you. So everything new, nothing new and everything different. So that really, I think, summarizes this year, doesn't it? Although I created that idea of that title came to me when I was on holiday about this time last year, but it seems to have come to fruition in the first quarter of this year. Let me tell you what I'd like to do today. I've got a lot of complex information to present to you, and I've got that in a set of slides. I don't want that to necessarily interrupt the interactivity, the opportunity for that today. But I think it is the best way to get the information across. So let me put some slides up for you. Do by all means hit the chat, use that. I've got the chat window open, but Monique, if you could perhaps keep an eye on the chat as well, and then interrupt me if you see some questions coming up that I'm missing.
Absolutely, will do.
Sure. Okay, so let me go and share a screen with you, and you can just give me a thumbs up when you've got that screen share. I think that should be there now. Thank you, Doug. Thank you. Okay, so nothing new, everything different. What's this all about? I'd like to introduce you to Chloe. Chloe is working very hard on her new website. And what Chloe wants to do is to create a series of products that she's going to share with people around the world. She is absolutely convinced that her target market, Martha, target audience there, is having a wonderful experience, except that Martha is not having a good experience on Chloe's website, because what Martha is seeing is not what Chloe intends, but something altogether different, because Martha is looking at Chloe's website through a lens that is owned and maintained by Google. And that's our issue nowadays, ladies and gentlemen. We have these big companies that we have to struggle with or behave in a certain way so that they can help us get our information out there. And it's understanding the rules of the game, because really they own the game. That's what it comes down to. And we have to understand them and how they're operating. And they're not bad people. It's just that we don't always necessarily understand the rules of the game. Okay, let's have a bit of fun. I'm going to take you on a little trip around the world now. So get ready on the chat. This is a little exercise coming up. The next slide you see is going to be a famous international sports stadium. Tell me which one. Does anybody recognize that? Type into the chat if you do, or shout out online, whichever you like.
I have no clue, to be honest. I don't know if that's London or if that's somewhere else.
It is. Okay, so what's the game? The game is tennis. Wimbledon. Yes, Doug got it. There you go. Doug was absolutely on it. Yeah, it is Wimbledon. Absolutely, it is Wimbledon. Now, Doug, is it a modern photograph of Wimbledon or an old photograph of Wimbledon? Now we're getting down into the detail. Elizabeth said old, and you're absolutely right. It is an old photograph of Wimbledon. Now, so here is centre court. Next to centre court is number 1 court, what was, okay. Here are the show courts, and here is the TV compound on the left of the picture. Why am I pointing out to the TV compound to you? Because as a young engineer in 1989, that's where I spent most of my time, because you're looking at the guy who designed the computer network that glued all of this lot together and put it on your television screen. That was my job. So I've been in IT a long, long time. Let's go back in history. Here are the computers that we used to do that job. Do you remember these things? These are the first portable computers we had. The first portable PCs, we called them luggables. Do you remember how much they weighed? 25 kilos. Now you give somebody a computer today that weighs 2.5 kilos, a tenth of that, and they think it's heavy. But this really wasn't that long ago. This was 1990. Well, I suppose it is a long time ago, but it's sort of within my career quite easily, you know. So absolutely incredible. And just to kind of close off that little bit of history, here is an up-to-date photograph of Wimbledon. So there's centre court, still in the middle, and it's got its roof now that slides over. There's the new number 1 court. The show courts are still in the same place. And what used to be number one court has been knocked down. And that's the new TV center, complete with a multi-story underground car park where all the outside broadcast units go and all the rest of it. We could have an enjoyable hour just talking about the IT at Wimbledon. It's fascinating. However, we're not here to do that. We're here to talk about websites. So let's crack on. Look, here's some work I've been doing. In 2017, I decided that I really did want to help speakers get a lot more out of their use of the web. And I concluded that there were three currencies that are really important to us as speakers. One is relevance, another is reputation, and another is revenue. You know, I do not know of a single speaker who would not leap out of bed with enthusiasm in the morning if you were to say to him or her, by the end of the day, I can guarantee that your relevance to your marketplace will have gone through the roof. People will get out of bed to do that. Same for reputation. If I promise you that by the end of the day, your reputation will have gone up tenfold, you get out of bed in the morning to do that. So these are real tradable currencies for us. It's not just all about revenue. Of course, we need revenue to live. I understand that, okay? But we have tradable currencies other than revenue. So if revenue is a challenge for us in the first half of this year, we have other things that we can do, okay? Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. So what we're going to look at today is a system that will help you understand how to maximize the value from your market. That's really important because once you've done that, you can get to a clear definition of your dream client. Once you've got a clear definition of your dream client, you can start defining a range of products that helps that dream client. Once you've got that range of products, you can produce consistent, reusable copy that isn't just on your website, but it's in brochures, it's on your LinkedIn profile, it's everywhere else that you communicate a consistent, solid message. And why do you want to do that? You want to do that because all of this information makes very clear the significance that you bring to your dream clients' lives by the change you make in their status. That is the critical point of everything that we do online, is my belief. It all comes down to this. Let me briefly introduce you to a lady called Jane Ardern. Jane Ardern is a member of the Professional Speaking Association in the United Kingdom. Here is Jane outside Chester Cathedral in the northwest of the UK. It's about 15 miles from where I live. And Jane is there receiving her degree in animal and canine behavior. Jane is one of the UK's top dog trainers and dog breeders, immensely competitive marketplace in which to operate. Jane had a view, which was that she wanted to bring to market a product to help new people, new dog owners train their puppies, but to also help dog owners who could not get to puppy classes. So this had to be a remote box that could be posted, delivered to people through the post, so they could train their puppies at home. This is the definition she came up with. Integrated puppy training delivered to your home with everything you need is in the box, and it comes out each month for 10 months. Surprisingly, this product doesn't really exist on the marketplace. Variations of it do, but not quite as comprehensive as this. And so Jane created it, and this is exactly what it looks like. This is a Smart Pup Box. You can go and look at the website, smartpupbox.com. And Jane came to me to help her build the website. Now, with that in mind, let's look at the 5 different states of website maturity. And this is going to be really interesting for you because you should be able to find your website coming up right now. By the time we get through these next few charts, you should know where your website is. Opacity is the first stage of website maturity. You're in opacity if you don't really get much traffic and nobody really knows who you are on the web. That's how you would know that you were in opacity. Interestingly, when we did the most recent survey of speakers' websites, we found that 3.6% of the domains simply didn't exist. So not only were those domains in opacity, they were simply non-existent. The URLs went nowhere, amazingly, or they go to a screen that would say this website under construction or something like that. So those 3.6% of people were really missing out on a trick. Let's just look at what Google said to the world as far back as January 2014, when half the traffic on their network was encrypted traffic. Nowadays, about 95% of their traffic is encrypted. But back in January 14, 50% of it was encrypted. And they said to us, if you implement HTTPS, we will give you a ranking boost. They also said that they were going to strengthen it in the future. So why would you not do that? That's a good thing to do. They went on to say that they were keen to encourage us all to move to HTTPS. So this is really Google back in January 2014 being nice to us and saying, look, we really want you to do this. Now the message has changed so that in Chrome and Firefox, if you do not have a secure website, then they are marking your website as being actively not secure. Now, I don't know about you, but I would not want my clients to see that message when they were looking at my website. And yet, how are we getting on? Pretty much 50% of the speakers out there do not have secure websites. So if the start of your URL is HTTP and not HTTPS, this is the first thing you have to fix. Google is actively conspiring against you if you do not have a secure website. This is a really important point. Second, really important point, we all know that we have to have websites that look good on mobile phones nowadays. How are we doing on that? Well, we're doing a lot better. 3/4 of the sites out there are responsive. That's pretty good. But the 24% that aren't have a problem because, again, by September of this year, Google's mobile first index project will be in place. What does that mean? That means that the only version of your website they are going to index is the mobile version. They're not going to look at any other version. So if you're one of the 24%, you have a problem. So these are engineering-led things that you need to get sorted out on your website that are holding you back in this stage of opacity. So if it says HTTP, they're going to discriminate against you. If your site is difficult to read on a mobile, Google will discriminate against you. If your site takes a long time to load, Google will discriminate against you. If you have a small number of pages on your website, it's very difficult to get a website to rank without a lot of content. So these are suggestions that might lead you to believe, I'm probably in opacity. Question from Annabelle: do your statistics take in site providers like Weebly and Squarespace? Yes, they do. Because they're just content management systems. So it's whatever. Some of the sites we looked at were built on Squarespace. Some were built in WordPress. The system they're built in isn't necessarily that relevant. We were looking at the website itself. Beyond opacity, the next stage we get to is system engagement. What's system engagement all about? Question from Caroline: how does one change a site to HTTPS so it becomes secure? I'll come on to that. I'll answer that later if I may, Caroline. I'll come back to it. Monique, make sure that I do that. System engagement. It's the next stage beyond opacity. You start getting some traffic because you're meeting people at networking events and what have you. There's some traffic coming into your website, and you want those people to engage with you. How do you know you're in system engagement? You're in system engagement when your credit card starts taking a beating because you're buying a whole load of extra ancillary bits of software. What might that software do? That software might enable people to get to your diary to book a meeting with you. It might enable people to download some form of lead magnet. Let me very briefly touch on lead magnets. So it says on the screen there, get benchmark tool. My observation is traditionally lead magnets have always been reports of some sort, not always, but have often been reports of some sort, a PDF report. I think they're falling from favor, to be honest. My observation is that the word tool works really well. So if you can invent some form of tool, I think you will find that will work better for you. The benchmark tool that I created, this is the sign up form. The benchmark tool that I created is an Excel spreadsheet, 20 yes/no questions. People fill it in and they get a percentage score for the effectiveness of their presentation. And that really works well with me. I get on average 3 signups a week for people who just want to get their hands on the benchmark tool. I don't do any advertising for it at all. People just come to my website, they see the benchmark tool, they sign up for it. Another way that I get people to engage with me is they can book a call with me. They go to my diary, they can book this call. Another way of engaging with people with live chat. Live chat is very good because not only can you respond to people who come to your website, but when you see people on your website, you can open a window and go out there and say, hey, do you want to have a little conversation? So this is system engagement. You can see there are systems being put in place that allow you to engage with people as they come and find you. Beyond system engagement, where do we go next? We go to community engagement. And community engagement is where you start getting a clear idea of the people that you serve. Your tribe is a word that we often hear, your clan, your tribe, or whoever you want to call them. My tribe is speakers. That's my community. And my piece of community engagement since 2017 has to annually, I have conducted this worldwide speakers digital footprint survey when I've gone around and surveyed thousands of websites every year. And that's a targeted piece of advice and guidance that I put together for my community. I'll just say now, there is a free synopsis of this report. You can see on the screen the report itself is chargeable because it just is. It takes us so much time and money to put together. It's a huge piece of work, but there is a free synopsis, and I'll tell you how to get that if you want that later on. Another piece of community engagement, going back to Jane Ardern, the dog trainer. Jane Ardern realizes that all of her community are on Facebook. And Jane gets incredible following on Facebook. She puts a blog post onto her website, but then she shares the blog post on Facebook and people go absolutely crazy over it. That's where her tribe is. They're on Facebook. So you got to know where your tribe live, where your community lives, and go and find them. Are they on Facebook? Are they on Twitter? Are they on LinkedIn? Where is your community? First point. Second, how can you serve them? What can you produce that they need? I mentioned that Jane did blogging. Blogging is fantastic for creating information for communities. So in the most recent digital footprint survey, I looked at the sizes of blogs by posts across thousands of websites, speaker websites. I can summarize that chart for you by saying, broadly speaking, that half of us have got a good sized blog and half of us have not. That's the summary. Beyond the size of the blog, though, how frequently are the blogs updated? Again, I can summarize that just by saying a third of us roughly update our blogs in a good, regular manner. 2/3 of us don't. So there's an opportunity here, folks. There's an opportunity. If you know a community that you want to serve and you can get good blog posts out there and you can commit to serving that community with regular blog communications, that's really, really effective way of communicating. Let me just go to the chat. I see there's a question here. Where is my community? Actually, many people are on different media channels like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Do I need to post everywhere? You don't. I would post in the most popular places. That does not necessarily mean, though, that it's a huge amount of work. As an example, this is jumping ahead slightly, but it'll make sense. I post a YouTube video every Wednesday. That same video, once I've posted that video, the transcript of that video becomes a blog post. The video is shared onto Facebook and is shared onto LinkedIn. So from one piece of content, from one piece of work, me recording the video, I actually get a lot of content. Is an article or a post more effective in LinkedIn? The answer is, I don't know. You would have to test it for your community. A lot of these things you can only answer by testing them for your community and find out what works for them. I would be very wary of people who say the way to do something is like this. It might not work for you. You know, you have to test and keep testing until you find something that works for your community. That is community engagement. Beyond community engagement, subtle change in linguistics here, we come to alignment, market alignment, different subtly from engagement. Excuse me. Well, what are we looking at here? What we've been doing really is drawing a graph, and the axes of those graphs are the depth of engagement that you have with your community versus the quantity of targeted, relevant content. Now, we started in opacity. We moved to system engagement. We moved to community engagement. This is all a natural enough sequence. It almost happens naturally. Jumping to market engagement, though, there's a bit of a fence that gets in the way that people need to jump over, and people have difficulty doing that. What helps get over that fence is if you have a clear idea written down somewhere, you have some form of matrix that aligns the products that you offer with your clients. I've just called that product client alignment matrix. You need some way of explaining that to yourself and your community. And my observation is that speakers have difficulty with that because too few have clear, defined products. That's my observation from looking at lots of websites. There's a lack of clearly defined product. People who do have clearly defined product, like Jane's Smart Pup Box, are able to target it at a community and clearly identify with that community. So, for example, you could come to a website and the first thing that you might want to do on the homepage is ask people to identify themselves, self-select to which group they belong. Are they in sales, marketing? Are they a business owner, or are they some form of specialist consultant? And depending on which of these buttons they pick, depends on which page they go to. Let's just have a look. So if they hit the sales button, they end up here. And I would submit that that headline, how to get your quota in the bag and still have a home life, is a classic headline for attracting somebody who's interested in sales. It's different to hitting the button that says marketing. How to be quicker to market with the best sales kit you've ever had. Well, that's a headline to interest marketing people, not salespeople. Interestingly, though, whichever page these people go to, at the end of the day, they end up buying pretty much the same product. But it's been explained to them, that subset community, in language that they understand. And that's the critical point. You're communicating with a group of people in a language that they understand. You are aligned to their market. That's what market alignment is all about. So that's all well and good. Job done. Actually, no, there's one stage left. Client alignment. What is client alignment all about then? Well, if you thought that getting into market alignment was difficult, getting into client alignment is really tough. What's the difference between market alignment and client alignment? It's subtle, but let me tell you a little story. The story involves this gentleman here. He is my father. And he wrote this paper, Endural Condylectomy, and that was published in the British Journal of Plastic Surgery in 1955, 65 years ago. And that paper actually is now available on the internet. It wasn't in 1955, but it is now. And it is still cited. I won't go into all the ins and outs. We don't have time for it today. But the point to say here is that this procedure that Dad created was a brand spanking new surgical procedure that had never, ever been done before. It was a complete life-changing procedure for the patient. And the point of it is that it moved the goalposts for that particular piece of surgery. It set new boundaries. And that's what client alignment is about. It's distinct from market alignment. Client alignment comes from being able to move the goalposts. So you're no longer sitting across the table from your client, you're sitting on the same side of the table as your client, and you're fixing a problem together in such a way that you shift the goalposts for that particular piece of the industry, for that particular sector, for that particular community. How do we get into client alignment? Well, clearly, to get into client alignment, we really have to understand our clients really, really, really well. That's where we come back to this product client alignment matrix. How do we start understanding our clients really well? Well, for example, let's go back to that community that we were serving. That community of people comes to our website. They get there through the processes of drawing them in. When they get there, they hit system engagement. They hit system engagement, they download something, they click a submit button. At that point, they trigger a pixel. It could be a Facebook pixel, a LinkedIn pixel, a Twitter pixel. They're all the same thing. This example is Facebook. They hit a pixel. The pixel goes back to Facebook and it says, do we know this email address? Do we know this individual? Sure, we know this individual. Great. That means we can retarget them with an advert. Is that important? Yeah, it is important. Retargeting is important because people who've been retargeted are 70 times more likely to buy. You get 10% the click-through rate and they buy 5 times as much. So you would therefore assume that this level of integration with our community, with our clients, is something that as speakers we absolutely ought to all be doing. And so we would all have the Facebook pixel installed, but 9 out of 10 of us do not. 90% of the speaker websites out there just don't have the Facebook pixel installed, or Twitter or LinkedIn. So there is an opportunity there for us as well. Client alignment. Client alignment is really, going back to Jane's website now, Smart Pup Box, is really getting incredibly tightly aligned with the community that you serve. Paul Taval is on this call. This is Paul's website that we helped him put together. Now, here are the products that Paul sells. He has at the top there, step 0 engagement benchmark tool. Remember what I said about tools? So this is the tool that we put together with input from Paul. So this engagement benchmark tool gets people interested in his work. And then we have step 1, step 2, step 3, 3 programs described here. And all the words here came from the product client alignment matrix that we put together with Paul. So this website, clearly, when Paul's target market look at this website, they understand that this is aligned to their needs. I'm going to pause there for a moment, just look at chat. Caroline is asking a question. What do you mean by pixel? A link to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn pages. I'll answer that in a moment. Caroline, just read the next question. Is this tool like a book, PDF, or workbook that you use to get their email address? Annabelle, it is, but it's something that's interactive. It's not just a PDF it's not just a PDF they read. It's something that they have to interact with. If Paul is on this call, so maybe when I finished here, Paul can show you his engagement benchmark tool. What do you mean by pixel? I agree, it's not a very helpful word, pixel. A pixel is a piece of code that you get from Facebook or from LinkedIn or from Twitter. It's free. It's a piece of code that you can put on your website that then communicates back to Facebook, back to Twitter, back to LinkedIn, and it allows you to connect the visitors to your website with their activity on social media. That's what pixels are all about. Very happy to have an additional conversation with you, Caroline, if you'd like to do that. And Paul has just dropped into chat there the URL that takes you to his engagement benchmark tool, so you can have a play around with that later. Thank you, Paul. Steve Bustin, president of the PSA in the UK. Steve has a close alignment with the pharmaceutical industry, and so in addition to Steve's existing website, Steve wanted an additional website that focused entirely on the pharmaceutical sector. So this is his website called communications.healthcare. Very tightly defined specialist website dedicated to a particular community. These are just ideas of how to get deeper association with the community you serve. So that's really it. Just looking very briefly, distributing across the 5 stages here, the key findings from the latest digital footprint survey. 3.6% of URLs didn't go anywhere. We know that we've got 48% of people that don't have HTTPS. We know that we've got 24% of people that don't have mobile. So this is going to be holding you back in the lower regions. Blog entries, we know that we have opportunities to exploit blogs more. And if you do that, then that's going to help you with your community engagement and market alignment. Google Analytics we haven't looked at, but just to say that 38% of people don't have Google installed. If you do have Google Analytics installed, then you get more information about your visitors. And of course, if you have the Facebook Pixel installed, then you get more information about your visitors again. So all of these other additional tools are helping you in the upper echelons of the diagram there. Why is this worth it? Because let me show you a classic example. 29th of June this year, so not long ago, I did a Google search when I wasn't logged into Google, so Google did not know it was me that was doing it. And I searched for interactive PowerPoint presentations. So that's quite a meaty term to rank for. And here in the middle of the first page is a blog post that I wrote on the 21st of June, 2016. So that's still on the first page of Google 3 years later. Another example, same search, 29th of June, same date, presentation challenges. Where am I there? Almost at the top of Google, just underneath the diagrams. A blog post that I wrote when? 3rd of August, 2017. So if you get this correct, this can have long lasting impacts for you. I can see that there's a few questions in chat. I will come to them. So what we've been talking about really is aligning the products that you have with your clients. That's really what it comes down to, that tight alignment. And that product client alignment matrix will help you achieve that. Wicked Web Wednesdays, I'm going to close on this. Wicked Web Wednesdays is my weekly YouTube broadcast, all about technical stuff. It's designed exactly for people like you, 10-minute or so videos for individual little bits of technical help on websites. So if you go to YouTube, find me on YouTube, pretty obvious, Chris Davidson, UK, and sign up for Wicked Web Wednesdays. Just subscribe to me on YouTube, and then you'll get an indication when each new video comes up. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to return to the main screen, bring the chat up. I think we had a question on HTTPS, and I think there's another question in here as well. How do you scale up to HTTPS? Is that a secure site that you get off your host where you have your website hosted? Chris, you have your posts through Smart Words inserted backend. I don't understand that comment a bit, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, what I was, of course, the first part I think you got, what I understood is for your post to stay that high up on Google, you know, without really going into the analytics of it, is that there is some smart words, and I could be using words that probably you use differently, but these are those words that you insert backend where, you know, it keeps picking you up in the first page, it keeps you there. So I was wondering if that is a process that you do by staying from 2017 till today, is that you've been active in helping your post to stay up there.
I've done nothing to the posts since I wrote them, but they are well written in the writing of them.
Yes.
They were search engine optimized when they were written, but they have not been changed since then. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's even smarter than having to do the SEO all the time. That's really nice.
Yeah. Let me. So I put in the chat. I have put in the link to the synopsis of the report. SpeakerBusinessBuilder.com. Click on the research tab, and then the synopsis is there. HTTPS. So let me just stress this. First point to say is there are, I think, 2 Wicked Web Wednesday videos on HTTPS. So go to the playlist and watch those videos. Important point about HTTPS. If you have HTTP right now and you are planning a migration to HTTPS, please be careful and don't hesitate to get in contact with me if you want to and ask me to reprise this point with you again. The important point is this. When you implement HTTPS, you have to make sure that all of the traffic that you had associated with your HTTP site is migrated across to your HTTPS site. And you do this using a 301 redirect. I'll put it in the chat, but make sure that whoever does this for you or helps you with this, make sure they use 301 redirects to transfer your HTTP traffic to your HTTPS site. Because in Google's mind, your HTTP website is different from your HTTPS website. And you want Google to think that they are one of the same thing. They are connected. So you have to tell Google that, and you tell it that by using a 301 redirect. Let me put that into the chat. 301 redirect. That's just an important point for implementing HTTPS. Okay, Monique, I'm in your hands.
You're not in my hands only, you're in everyone's hands. So thank you. That was quite a firework of sharing. That's amazing.
Yeah. It was a lot to get through. I know. I hope it has been useful and it hasn't just been a complete overload.
It's been amazing. It's so many golden nuggets, and I know that everyone on here is still kind of digesting. And I was just busy to share your YouTube channel information because I was asked to put a link in here. I did that already, so you can find that here in the chat as well. I would suggest that you open the space, Chris, for everyone. I think we still have about 10 minutes.
Great.
Why don't we open the space, all of you? Ask Chris any questions you always wanted to ask, either based on what he shared. I'm sure there's still a lot for you to digest. But
yeah, sure.
Wanted to know,
ask away.
Website, or I suggest you open the space for that.
Ask away. Yeah.
So
okay, with you.
Just unmute yourself and jump in. Okay.
So Chris, hi, it's Caroline here.
Hello, Caroline. Hi.
How are you?
Yeah.
I would love to have a conversation with you, perhaps offline, about this, because I am definitely in the first stage with my website, and I'm really just starting to get online now and do a lot of changes to this. So with this matrix that you were talking about, how does this relate with search engine optimization? Because I've just had a session on that last week in terms of updating some of the pages so that it can reach specific areas of my target audience. Is this something different? Excuse me if I'm being really thick here.
Not being thick at all. Let me go back briefly to in all the meetings I had when we were doing the stuff at Wimbledon, all the great big long complex meetings with the All England Club. And the chairman of the committee there used to say, Chris, I have a DSQ. What's that, sir? Damn silly question. So DSQ. So there's no such thing as a DSQ. You can have as many.
I'm going to steal that. That's lovely.
all questions are good questions. The answer is the product product client alignment matrix is that came out of my brain. That's something I created, and SEO is part of it. That's the simple answer. So SEO fits within the product client alignment matrix.
So that would require a conversation with you then to really and understanding clients' needs specifically, so that you could advise me in terms of how to tailor this specifically.
Yes. Yes. I mean, Paul, you know, Dania had her hand up for a question, but, you know, after that, I mean, Paul might like to jump, because Paul has been through that whole product client alignment matrix process with me, and he might want to jump in and comment on it. But we can give him the opportunity to do that in a second, maybe when I've just taken another question, if that would be helpful to you, Caroline.
Lovely, thanks.
Yeah. Dania, I think you had a question.
Yes. Hi, Chris. I have a website. It's called daniabauer.com. It has been existing for a long, long time. And it's written all in German. It's about me as a singer and a presenter. I want to present me as a speaker as well, and as a speaking expert. And I want to do this also in English. So my question is, should I use this speaker topic on my existing website, or should I build a new website?
Okay. I'm doing precisely this for a German right now. Precisely this.
I'm Austrian.
So, do you own the domain danielbauer.de?
Danielbauer.at in my case.
Oh,
no.
Austria, sorry, Austria, beg your pardon. .at.
No.
Is it available?
I think so, because
buy it. Before you do anything else, before you have your next coffee, buy that domain.
Yes. Okay.
Right? And probably buy .de as well, actually, if it's available. Just buy them, right? So you then wrapped up pretty much with .de and .at. You pretty much wrapped up the German-speaking marketplace, right?
Yeah.
So this is on the basis of very little information. So maybe we need another conversation, and I'm happy to have it. But you might want to think about then taking all of your singing activity and what have you, and moving that to .at.de.
Okay. Yeah.
Then using the .com site for your English speaking activity, because that's where the English speaking world will expect it to be.
Yeah, I was thinking about this as well, Chris, but you know, .com is really a cool website. I'm getting some singing performances out of this website. When I move this on to AT, what does this mean now?
So what language are you performing in? German or English?
I'm performing in the Austrian market in English as well. I'm singing English, but it's the Austrian market.
Then I think you probably, I'd still go for AT. I'd still register the DE site as well. I'd go for AT, and I think probably you would end up with a multilingual website on the AT domain, and then you might use the .com domain for your English speaking activities.
But does this mean the whole, because .com is performing very well because it has been existing for a long time. So does this mean this is all gone now?
No, and that's the next point. And this is really important. This is critical, right? Critical. You must not move anything without deploying 301 redirects. Mm-hmm. This is really complex. So by all means, get in touch with me. I'll put my email address in the chat. Get in touch with me, but please, make sure that when you do this, you have somebody a real, not just any old website designer, get a real IT engineer, people who understand the guts of this, not the pretty stuff that goes on top, not the gloss that makes things look pretty, the guts underneath that make it work. Otherwise, this will mess up for you. And I don't want it to mess up. This is really, you're right. If you've had a .com domain that has been around for years and years and years, that is like gold dust. I've had activepresence.com for years, and it's a huge site. And that's partly why it does so well. It's partly why my blog post ranks so well for years and years and years. You don't want to lose that. So yes, you do have to plan this carefully.
Okay, with this redirect, it works.
Yes, but be very, very careful. Just be careful. Don't, don't rush into this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chris, I know that you wanted to hand it over to Paul. If I can just quickly put in a word on going with what Dania said, is that okay? Could I just quickly put in a small question? So right now, Chris, my website, the Circle of Joy, is a page of my Facebook. So I'm not on a WordPress, or I'm not on any individual website. So is that, and I do intend migrating to a proper website within the next 1 month. Would I be able to redirect my 200 odd people who are following me on a Facebook page to my .com? Would that be possible?
Well, you can't really sort of redirect them as such, but the point is that you have a community on Facebook, which is wonderful. Mm-hmm. It's great, right?
Okay.
So, however, it's good that you have achieved what you have achieved. If you have a community on Facebook or on any other of these social media, then the reality is that your existence online rests on the whim of Mark Zuckerberg. So if Mark Zuckerberg wakes up tomorrow morning and says, you know what, I think I'm going to completely redesign Facebook pages and Facebook groups and blah, 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 you're at risk. If you have your own website, that's your territory. That belongs to you. You get to decide what all the rules are. So the answer is you're going to need both, because you want to serve your community in the same way that Jane looks after her doggy friends, and they're all on Facebook. So she has to go there because they are there, but she also has her own website. And that's why you're going to end up with both. But the point is, you already have a community that you're serving on Facebook, which is great. Lots of people don't have that. That's a great place to start from. Okay. Annabelle's asking a question.
Super.
An engagement benchmark tool is a piece of code you get from your host provider. No, it isn't. The engagement benchmark tool was designed in collaboration between me and Paul. And I think Paul's going to show it to us now.
Can I share the screen? No.
I would need to make you a code.
Oh, Monique, you can click on my link. That is in there. Then you can share it.
Okay, give me a second. I can also make you a co-host. Maybe that's easier.
I'll do it. I'll click on the link and I'll share it now.
Yeah, you can share it.
Right, here we go, Paul. 3, 2, 1. You're online, sir.
Yeah. Well, what you see here is what I did in a lot of presentations worldwide is show CEOs that engagement has to do with purpose, with autonomy, belonging, and competencies. But we didn't have a tool. What you see here is 10, 12 questions that people can give a number from 0 to 10, and it automatically creates a percentage of engagement in relation to other companies that are in the benchmark. So what people can see is how they think their team is performing. You see here, overall engagement, 30%. That's low. It should be about 70%. Is it normal to have 30? Yes, it is worldwide. So if a company say, oh, the engagement in my company is 90%, I don't believe them. But still, what I want them is to connect with me. So the tool is simple. It relates on a benchmark hidden, and it gives me the opportunity to connect with companies and then go to tool number 1, 2, or 3. So this is simple just to tease, to get them into action. And we all say you need the call to action. Well, this is it. They can play on their phone during my presentation and see what the outcome is. They don't want to do it online with me on the screen because it's about their company. If they do it on their phone, they can send in their name, email address. We get that information. We will send them a report on it and then tell them what to do.
Yeah.
And it's fun to do it.
Yeah, that's an example of a very good example of a modern lead magnet. Much more engaging than a PDF report on engagement in the company engagement or something like that. Yeah. So Paul came up with those questions, designed that questionnaire, and we put the code together and put it on the website.
I assume, Chris, this is part of your Speaker Business Builder, right? It's included to create quizzes and engaging things like this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's a question from Danya. Which poll software did you use? I guess it's integrated in yours, the Speaker Business Builder.
Oh, I'm sorry. Which poll software did you use? I'm sorry, Danya. Off the top of my head, I can't remember its name.
There was a separate tool that you integrated, pretty much.
Yeah. That tool that you were looking at there, the sliders, is it's a tool that we integrated into the site. Yeah.
Okay.
It's there is a number of them that you can use, like Typeform or whatever. It's not Typeform but there is a number of them that will do it for you.
Yeah. Paul is saying ahaslides.com is a great tool. Cool.
Yeah, I must say I started using Mentimeter like a lot of people do, and then somebody said me, you should go to ahaslides.com. I must say it's much more easy to use in presentations than Mentimeter. So if you want a real good modern tool, go to that and use it.
There's a lot of tools out there, and every day there's new tools being launched, right?
Yeah.
So great. Okay, good. Thank you, Chris. I think that we could actually keep answering questions and doing deep dives.
Well, we could go on forever. That's the question. Yeah.
I hope you had Caroline's questions all answered, and I know Caroline's going to have a conversation with you anyhow to go.
I'm just going to put my email in the chat right now.
Would have been my next question. How can people connect with you if you to get in touch with you?
There you go, chris@activepresence.com.
Okay, great.
I'm pretty easy to find.
Okay, so do you want to round it all off with a few more with a few inspiring, encouraging words on, oh my God, now I know what I need to do, but encourage everyone to just take a few steps to step up. Chris, do you want to round it off with some encouragement?
Sure. So here is the point, right? The point is, start from where you are with what you've got right now. That's point number one. It doesn't matter where you are on that chart, just start. Number one. Number two, be resolutely consistent. That's really, really important. If you commit yourself to saying, okay, I'm going to do a blog post on Thursdays, then you have to do a blog post on Thursdays. I've committed myself to a video every Wednesday. I have to do a video every Wednesday. It has to be available. That's my commitment. So start from where you are with what you've got. Be absolute resolute in your commitment to yourself and your marketplace. That's it.
Great. Okay, that's amazing. That's a powerful message, and that's where all of us can start from, where we are, and just take a few next steps. And thank you, definitely, Chris, for being with us today, and Paul, and each and every one of you, because again, all of our guests today are actually speakers, are experts, are entrepreneurs that want to share their wisdom in greater ways with the world. And as we know today, more than ever before, it's online, and that's not going to change going forward. It becomes more and more important. And thank you, Chris, for spending time with us, being here. I know you're a busy man. Great to have you, to share your insights, your wisdom, and I know your speaker business is a great solution, salvation almost for a lot of speakers out there. So thank you for sharing all your suggestions and insights and advice and guidance. And again, as we said, just all of you start from where you are, take a next step. A next step can be to have a conversation with Chris, also engage with us in our Heart Power Global Nation community, ask questions there. And, again, we're going to have a little bit of a summer break with our community calls. So we plan to have a next one in September. But again, a big thank you, Chris, for being on with us today, and for each and every one of you for being out there and being brave enough to share your message, your wisdom with people out there and impacting the world together in such powerful ways. So thank you all for being on today. Have a great day, great July, great summer, and we will be in touch in the meantime with most of you, and we'll see each other on another community call as well in September. Okay, all of you have a great.
Thank you, Monique. Thank you, folks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much indeed.
Chris.
Good luck to you all.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Monique.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.